we just started with what we had. We didn't know any better. And we just kind of got going. And 5 years later, we're up to 100 students, 22 robots in grades 4 through 12. This year we did 21 different competitions. That's not counting the NRC, I should change it, 22. 22 different competitions. 3 teams last year went to the VEX World Championships. Here we are. These are our students from Sheffield, Ohio, and these are 2 students from Hong Kong. All right, not very often that we get to, collaborate with people halfway around the world, but this is a great opportunity for these kids. Last year we got to send 3 teams to the World Championships. This year we're sending 6, and it's going to happen next week and the week following. This is a graph that I show in my slideshow. It's crooked because this was someone else's graph, and I just held my phone up and took a picture of it during their presentation. This shows the growth in robotics. The blue bars are VEX, that's the tournament that we do. FTC and FRC are FIRST. Okay, if you've heard of FIRST Robotics, that's also a great program. As you can see, it's also growing. Okay, BEST, at Botball, all these programs are growing at different rates. Okay, so if you're in a high school thinking of starting a robotics program, start the one that's right for you. Okay. VEX has the most teams, probably because it's affordable. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean it's the best program. It's the best program for us. In Ohio last year, there were 200. No, that's the year. In Ohio last year, there were 463 robot teams. 248 high school, 165 middle school, and 49 elementary. VEX or FIRST. So if you're deciding, if you're comparing VEX and FIRST. VEX is a lot less expensive. This robot kit right here starts at $1,000. To enter a tournament is about $100, and we're going to use a couple $100 in spare parts every year for this robot. This robot over here comes from a $300 kit, and I doubt we use $10 in spare parts. And we really just use the kits out of the box. These guys have some different wheels that we got. Most of those wheels we got a couple years ago. So sometimes we have to replace the little axles because we forget where we put them. They fall out. VEX is a lot less expensive, okay, but FIRST is a much more comprehensive program. Not only you're building, you might be milling your own parts. VEX, we use all VEX parts. FIRST, you have a lot more freedom to make a bigger robot. It's a bigger robot, it's a bigger game. If you're starting a program, see what local events there are. Are there events around me? FIRST has a competition in Cleveland. I think they have another competition in Dayton. So if you're going to do FIRST and you're going to do a couple competitions, that's your scope of travel. VEX, when we started, there was a lot less tournaments than there are now. We traveled to Zanesville, we traveled to Marion, we traveled to Cleveland. Not too far, but Zanesville is a drive on a snowy day for sure. Now, VEX has grown so fast. If you look at that growth slide, we did a tournament in Brecksville, we did a tournament in Elyria, we did a tournament in Lorain, we did a tournament at Kalahari and Sandusky, which the kids like quite a bit. So there's a lot of tournaments. You can do VEX and not have to drive more than an hour until you get to the state level competition. So we chose VEX. The next few slides we'll talk about the VEX competitions. There's new objectives every year. People think that when you do robotics, you show up on Saturday morning and they tell you the challenge and you have to build a robot on that day to match that challenge. That's really not what robotics competitions are for the most part. We have known this year's game for almost a year. We've known it since last April or May. And everyone is working towards towards the same goal. We're all building a robot to try and stack cones or stack rings. The other thing I love about VEX is there's a cycle of build, compete, and improve, right? We learn best when we mess something up and we have to fix it, okay? And we have that chance in VEX. We have multiple competitions throughout the season. Starting in November and going through February, we're doing 1 or 2 competitions a month. So every 2 or 3 weeks, we're getting out there again, and then we're coming back. I found that we really work best when we have a deadline. The night before the competition, these kids want to stay as late as they can, and because the robot. Somebody asked me how long does it take to make one of these robots. Well, the problem is they're never done. Okay, Nick can attest to that for sure. I think he said he's taking it apart again next week before we go to Worlds. Tomorrow we're taking it apart. Wonderful. High school, that was my question. Like, if you start with elementary, what are you going to do next? Because you kind of got to then do middle school and high school, right? High school might be the easiest way to start because the students really 100%, okay? They'll do it themselves. You put a box of robots and a couple tools in front of them, get them the rule book, and they'll figure it out, okay? Maybe if you're going to start wherever your coach is. If you have a high school teacher, start with high school. If you have elementary, start with elementary. Just get going. The first competition we went to, we had no idea what we were doing, and we just went and we learned and we got better from there. If you wait until you're good, you might never get there. Why? The students will love it, okay? STEM is important. Okay, there's lots of jobs in STEM. We always say that, science, technology, engineering, math. The future is there. But those people also need to be able to collaborate and communicate and work together. We put on tournaments, and I tell these kids they get just as much of an education, organizing something as actually competing. If you're a teacher and you start a robotics club, people will love you. Okay, Mr. Chandler is a big fan of mine, right? I don't know why. As far as the district goes, okay, there's no better thing for community relations than like seeing that your district is doing something cool that like maybe sets you apart from other districts, all right? But the kids will love it, okay? The one thing I always say about this picture is if it's like not your team, if it's another team from your school that wins, you should still like be happy for them. We got a couple guys that missed that part of the memo. So if you have questions, this is my email, this is my cell, this is the school phone, I have business cards. I thank these kids for taking their time today. Okay, they could have been at school instead. Instead, they had to come here and like play with their robots all afternoon. Hopefully, you got a chance to see the robots up close and see what they're doing and ask them some questions. I like to talk, but I like to give them a chance to talk too. So. Thank you. I know there's another session that's coming up here, but if you have any questions, we're going to go back to the booth and start cleaning up. But if you have any questions or want to talk or grab a business card or anything, please stop by. Thank you.